Greetings, Bat Family. Welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Make sure you visit holybatcast.com or find us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast and you will find us. If you love the show, you want to help support us, you can do that on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast and make sure the show keeps on running. And so I got to give out little shout outs to two new patrons. First of all, we have Mr. Dustin Quick, and then we have Giuseppe Vicaretti. So Dustin and Giuseppe, thank you both. You guys are awesome. We really appreciate it. And yeah, we appreciate all our patrons. You guys are amazing. Honestly, I'm still shocked every time we get a new one. I'm like, really? Oh my God. And then maybe a third one, Brent Lee. Did I give Brent a shout out last time? I think I did. I want to say I gave Brent a shout out last time. We get another one, Brent. Sorry. So Brent, Giuseppe, and Dustin, you guys rock. Thank you. We are part of the Real Fans Podcast Network, so if you're looking for other shows to enjoy, you can check those out at rf4rm.com. And as always, I'm Andy DiGenova. You can follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. Now, this episode, we're going to finally get to answering all your burning questions about Zack Snyder's Justice League. We've done it a little bit, but the past couple episodes, we've been busy with other things. And so the mailbox just keeps filling up, and it is time to empty it out. So joining me for that, I've got both of my Bat brothers. So out there in Indiana, it's Jamie Drewley. Hey, Jamie. Good evening
Greetings. To you. Yeah, a nice rainy spring evening here, but I'm inside and toasty warm and ready to get into questions that I'm sure are going to really be interesting.
Yes. And you're avoiding a slumber party.
And I'm avoiding a slumber party that has 3 additional teenage girls in my home in addition to the 2 that already live here. So, yeah, pardon any background noise you hear because I can hear them. I don't know if you can.
Well, not yet. We haven't. But I hope that at a certain point, they'll play Truth or Dare, and Dare will be like, go in and yell something while your dad is recording his podcast.
Touch one of his comic books after he explicitly gave you a 5-minute lecture about don't touch anything in this house that looks like a comic book. They're all jacked up on an ice cream, so there'll be sugar highs going on here now.
I dare you to spray your dad's comics with perfume.
See, why do you want to get me thrown in jail, Andy?
Well, I believe in you. Anyway, also, down there, while he still has time before he has to start worrying about slumber parties, it's Brendan Lowe. Hey, Brendan.
Bat Brothers, how are we? Good.
You know.
Living the dream.
Something like that.
Yeah.
How are you? You're a few weeks away, right? Only a few weeks away from the big arrival?
Jess is now technically full term. Like 37 weeks is classed as full term. Like, so I know it's 40 weeks.
Any day?
It could be any day, any time.
Any day.
Partway through this podcast, I could get a tap on the shoulder. I don't know.
She can wait.
Yeah, it's true.
I mean, for the strict sake of posterity, you need to take a lot of pictures right now and post them on your social media.
Oh, God. No.
I could just direct message them to you if you like.
I mean, if you want me to hang on to them for you for later use, that's fine. I can do
that. Oh, shit, that's funny. Oh,
I'm happy to help out.
I don't like it.
I'm not even mad. I think it's hilarious, and I take it as a compliment.
Don't worry, Andrew. Your turn's coming.
I don't know about that. Well, that's great. Let's leave that behind. Let's talk about Justice League again.
Still.
We knew that was going to happen. That's okay.
I haven't recorded for 2 weeks, and we're still talking about it. What the hell?
Well,
it's a 4-hour movie, for crying out loud.
It is.
We're people who spend 90 minutes talking about a 3-minute movie trailer from time to time. So yeah, this is bound to happen.
Well, and there was, so much news and stuff last week that we couldn't do this then. So just keep on doing it.
Yeah, last week was a very news-heavy week. When I listened to the episode, I was like, oh shit, yeah, I forgot all that stuff happened.
So much, so a lot to talk about. But We're going to talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League. So we usually like to do the Q&A episode right after our review episode, but sometimes you got to adjust, you got to make changes, and that's okay too. So now let's see what all of your burning questions are about Zack Snyder's Justice League. Here we go. Let's see. We got a lot. Can we get through them all? Only time will tell. This one here comes from Adam Padron. It says, "Hey, Andy, Jamie, Brendan. It's nice to be on the other side of the Snyder Cut. First rhetorical question, is Alfred micromanaging Diana while she makes tea one of your favorite scenes? I found it so endearing. Number two, while I feel like maybe the ship has sailed, do you think about Zack's future with these characters? I'd love for them to just pull a Peter Jackson and film Justice League 2 and 3 side by side and release it on HBO Max, but that could be complicated to actually make happen. Thoughts? Mostly about Alfred's tea dialogue." Adam. Thanks, Adam. Okay. What say you about the tea scene and the future of Zack Snyder, Jamie?
The tea scene was really good. I enjoyed it. It's that not over-the-top clown shoes humor that I don't like. It's more of that subtle, wink humor. It's, funny in and of itself. It's not going out of its way to be funny necessarily. I enjoyed it. Yeah, that stuff like that, I can really get into in a movie versus, sometimes I just think humor gets over the top. And as far as the Justice League 2 and 3 thing, I think I addressed that was it the last episode? I think I suggested that idea about filming 2 and 3 back to back to keep the budget down if they were going to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm with you on that.
All right, Brendan.
Sounds like the girls are with you too, Jamie.
Yeah, that's going to be going on all night. I apologize in advance.
It's fine. It's the first time I've heard them. I think the tea scene was charming. Very British, obviously, sort of showing a bit of Alfred's, background there. I think if there had have been if Zack's movie had have hit theaters, it would have been cut. There's absolutely no need for it to be there, but it's still a really charming little fun scene that I do enjoy. As for the 2 and 3 back to back, I mean, who doesn't want that at this point? I think it's sort of universally that yes, we want more. We want to see more. I don't care how they film it, what platform it gets released on, theaters, streaming. Don't care. Put it in my eyeballs, and I'll be very happy.
Yeah. Yep, agreed all around. I think the tea scene is lovely. I loved it. It was a nice little surprise when it was happening the first time I was watching it. I was like, oh, this is adorable. I love it. And then, yeah, I mean, of course, I would love for them to do Justice League 2 and 3. It would be amazing. I'm still not convinced it's happening. At this point, I'm still kind of taking their word for it that this is the end. And if this is the end, I'm still very satisfied with the ending. But yeah, if I had my choice, it would be great if they could do it again, or if they could, continue it and finish it up. But at this point, I'm not counting on it.
I think the demand will be there. I think the interest from at least HBO Max will be there. But again, as I said earlier addressing it, the biggest hang-up is going to be getting everybody back to do it, like especially Ben. So.
Well, and also, I mean, I don't have this handy, but like there finally were some numbers put out there, and there were some numbers that were like not that great, and then there were some numbers that were like amazing, but it seems like the amazing ones might have been made up by fans. So it's even hard to tell how truly successful it is, because it's like trying to get streaming numbers or trying to interpret streaming numbers is just tricky. And so that's really hard in and of itself.
Well, today on the radio, I heard, and they cited no source for this. It's just one of those things where the radio DJ in between songs was talking about, just a news snippet that they read in the entertainment industry or whatever. And they said, and I have no idea how this was calculated, where they obtained this information from, nothing. But they said Godzilla vs. Kong, since it's released, has accounted for 8% of all streaming. I don't know how those numbers come figured out, but that sounded really freaking impressive to me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether or not that can even be substantiated or any of that, I have no idea. But 8% of all streaming for what, almost 2 weeks now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I based on my, my sample size and the people I know and the people I see online, everybody watched Zack Snyder's Justice League. And so I just, there are numbers that seem to support that, and then there are numbers that don't, and I don't know who to believe. So that's the issue, right?
Well, I can tell you every time I log on to HBO Max, it's either that or Godzilla vs. Kong that's right up there on the home screen for it.
Yeah, but they put it on the home screen.
I understand that, but I mean, they wouldn't keep putting it there. Well, I guess maybe they would, but I don't know. I have no idea how to figure any of that stuff out. But, well, I mean, just to go down this rabbit hole for just a brief second, we keep talking about whether or not these blockbuster movies can even be substantiated by streaming services opposed to box office. Again, as I addressed earlier, Netflix just paid $450 million for the sequels to Knives Out. Netflix offered $200 million to Warner Brothers for Godzilla vs. Kong, and the offer was declined. And now they've just made a $1 billion deal with Sony for 4 years to stream all of their movies 45 days after they're released in a theater, starting in 2022.
And that's just in America, I believe, too.
That I don't know. I didn't read it that closely. These are huge numbers for these movies. I mean, they got to be worth something somewhere.
Times are changing.
Yep. All right, moving forward. Next message is from Hugh Morris. It says, hey guys, the Snyder Cut, hour 1, I was like, okay, I'm liking this. Hour 2, I'm like, okay, I'm really liking this. Hour 3, I was like, okay, I'm loving this. And then hour 4, I'm effing loving this. It really blew me away. I knew I'd like it, but I didn't realize how much better it would be. WB should be ashamed. I hope everyone enjoyed it too. Bat on my friends. All right, thanks, Hugh. I think that's a fair assessment of the watching. But honestly, from the moment that it opened it up in the slow-mo of the death of Superman from BVS, right then I was like, all right, I'm loving this. So
let's go.
It didn't take me that long to warm up to it, but thanks for sharing, Hugh. Next message is from Franklin Gnosis. It says, hey guys, I just wanted to leave you with my thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League. I did enjoy the watch, even though it was 4 hours long. I do have some minor nitpicks, but nothing serious, and it's like what Jamie and Andy said, it's not a perfect movie, but I do really prefer it than the original film. I don't know if it will be on my repeat watch because of how long it is, but I won't reject it either if someone else who hasn't seen it wants to watch it. Anyway, I wanted to leave you with my thoughts. Take care, from Franklin Gnosis. P.S. I was wondering if you guys would review Superman the Animated Series 2-part, The World's Finest, since you guys did a commentary track for BVS, and it would be really cool to compare. Thanks, Franklin. Well, thanks for your thoughts on Zack Snyder's Justice League. Glad you enjoyed it. Glad it was better than you expected. And then The World's Finest, which is also known as the Batman-Superman movie. Yes, that's one of those things that we've been meaning to do for years now. And we will eventually get to it. Because, that's such a great piece of Batman content that we just haven't gotten a chance to cover on the show. So, totally. Anything to add, guys?
I think if we wait 2 years, it'll be its 25th anniversary.
Ah, nice.
It was like 98. Was it 98 or 99? If it's 98, 2 more years, it'll be its 25th anniversary.
Wow.
Which is scary as hell, but anyway.
Well, Rewind is starting to get into 35 and 40-year-old movies that I remember seeing in the theater, if that's any consolation to you.
Yeah. Yep. All right, next message is from John Porcho. It says, hey, Bat family, I wanted to write in with a quick observation from my second viewing of Zack Snyder's Justice League. I agree with you that the Nightmare scene and Martian Manhunter scenes feel tacked on, especially both being shot just for the release, and when I was thinking more about the choppy cuts from one to the other, I realized that Zack might be trying to say something. I'm not super plugged into the post-cut conversations online, so someone might have caught this, but when Superman shows up at the end of the Nightmare scene, we see his red eyes, and only his red eyes, implying he's about to laser the Nightmare Nightmare makeshift Justice League, but looking closer at the eyes, they look nearly identical to Zack's portrayal of Manhunter's eyes, both on Martha and his interaction with Bruce when they come directly after the close-up of Superman. I was trying to understand how Superman could have seemingly killed Bruce in both Nightmare sequences, but now, with the Joker card on Bruce's gun, and the possibility that Superman is actually Martian Manhunter, it seems to me they're in the same timeline, with the Justice League Nightmare coming before the BVS one. Let me know what you think. Also, I wanted to note that Batman telling Barry to just save one was the most Batman line in the theatrical cut, and it was a Joss scene, and so he deserves credit for that. Appreciate, John from South Carolina. Thanks, John. First, I will say, I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I like the just save one scene from the theatrical cut. I actually think it's a pretty cool scene. I know some people were like, it makes Barry a coward. I'm like, not really. It's acknowledging
it makes him
the
a
fact.
Rookie.
Yeah, it's acknowledging the fact that this kid has just been thrown into a much bigger world and he's overwhelmed and doesn't know how to proceed. And Batman giving that advice of just save one, I actually think is really cool. So I agree with you on that. What do you guys think about the Nightmare, Martian Manhunter, Superman? What do you think, Brendan?
I think it's Superman. I don't know if that's sort of reading a bit too much into it or not. I just sort of took it as it is. I think it's meant to be Superman because we know that's the story that he wanted to tell was, bad Superman working under Darkseid.
Yeah. Jamie?
Yeah, I think it's probably a bit of a reach, but I will say I watched it again, and that scene, I watched the black and white version too. By the way, I'm not watching that version again, but the color version works just fine for me. If you like black and white, great, but it was not for me. But just the same, I did watch it, and the eyes, they were definitely glowing, but they weren't. You remember how I mentioned how cool I thought it was I think it was when we did the BVS commentary, that when he does the heat vision, like the skin around his eyes glows red too. Mm-hmm. It doesn't do that in that shot, or at least not that where it really stood out in the black and white version, I should say. So, I mean, maybe there's something to it, but I think that was just what you guys said. I think that's him working for Darkseid, being controlled by Darkseid, whatever. I think the Manhunter thing might be a bit of a stretch.
Yeah, I agree with that. Actually, I think it is a reach. It doesn't make sense why it would be Manhunter, especially since all the other story threads are pointing to the fact that Lois is killed and it pushes Superman over the edge, and that's what creates the Nightmare. Like, that's all pretty clear, so it doesn't really make sense that it would be the Martian Manhunter. But I do.
And as far as the other thing where he said where, timelines lining up or whatever, Joker references, and again, I don't remember it verbatim. I don't have a 4-hour movie committed to memory just yet, but I'm working on it. He says something to the effect of, how many worlds did you destroy by not doing what you were doing? I forget. He says something because you didn't have the balls to do something. I don't even remember what he said now because that's not my favorite scene in the movie. But he references that this timeline has been played out more than once, essentially. Mm-hmm. So that's why, even though you see Superman kill him in the other timeline, he shows up in this version and it's different.
Well, so you're saying the two Nightmare scenes are of different timelines?
They very well could be.
I don't. I kind of agree with the message in that it's the same timeline. This just happens before the Nightmare scene that we see in BVS, because in this one he's given the Joker card, and in BVS he already has it taped to his gun. So in between here, Batman escapes, and that leads us to the scene in BVS. I think it's all still one Nightmare timeline. It's just we're just jumping back. And it's also the Flash still matches up with what we saw in BVS as well.
I don't know.
One thing,
nothing about the Nightmare sequence makes any more sense now than it did in BVS. If anything, it's more confusing for me. So,
one thing I did notice on my fourth watch, it's not about the Nightmare sequence, but it was just something I've been meaning to mention to you guys. You know how, Andy, you were saying you really missed the second Gordon scene?
Yes.
Have you noticed that the scene after Stryker's Island and everything, on the establishing shot of that scene, Gordon's there.
He's there. Yep. I did notice
and there's
that.
even a part, I think it's Wonder Woman, I think. You can see his trench coat like over her shoulder, like he's there, but they've cut around him for Zack Snyder's version.
Yeah.
Maybe if it was in widescreen.
It's odd, but yeah, I was just like the other day I was watching, it was like, holy shit, like Gordon's there.
Yep.
Like you can see him in his little hat and stuff in the establishing shot.
Yep, I noticed. So yeah, they just cut to the end of that scene where Gordon doesn't talk. Yeah. Yep. It's the only change that really bugs me. All right, next message is from Christian Delgado. It says, "Hey Andy, Jamie, and Kenny the Koala. I'm so glad you guys loved Zack Snyder's Justice League as much as I did. I'm almost done with the review episode, and I'm with you on almost everything. Just a couple things I want to talk about. Martian Manhunter and the nightmare scene at the end, specifically with the Joker. I think any discrepancies with how Martian Manhunter was incorporated are entirely explainable, provided we get a side plot or a movie in the future dedicated to Jean. Now to my meat and potatoes. I'm not saying the interaction with the Joker is the best scene ever, but I think Jamie misinterpreted it massively. I think it's entirely okay for Batman to say he will kill the Joker because this is the darkest timeline where he no longer cares, and taking lives because Darkseid has taken over. This is the timeline we're trying to avoid. I think it's cool to see Batman who's no longer playing Joker's game, plus their back and forth before that line is very much classic Batman-Joker banter. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is Amber Heard. Given what I've learned about her relationship with Johnny Depp, I'm personally glad this is likely the last time we'll see her in the DCEU, as it seems she's been fired from Aquaman 2 for reasons that unfortunately have nothing to do with Johnny Depp. I'm no longer a fan of hers at all. Assuming you're familiar with that situation, I was wondering what you guys think of the whole scandal with her relationship with Depp. And in relation to her appearance in the movie. Thanks for being awesome, guys. Thanks for being calm, collected, and reasonable fans that you are. Well, at least Andy and Brendan are. I kid, Jamie. Till next time, keep being awesome. Thanks, Christian. Okay, so I guess the first thing is for you, Jamie. Does it help at all that the conversation between Batman and the Joker is sort of an, potential future as opposed to something that actually happened?
No, because I've seen the movie 4 times, and that's still my least favorite part of the entire film.
That's fair. I will also say this, though, is like, of course there's a way to explain Martian Manhunter with a whole nother movie and make it make sense, but for now, that movie doesn't exist, and so it still doesn't really make sense.
Benefit of the doubt, I think he's exactly right about that, but I think this wasn't the movie to bring him in, unless it was just like the very tail end thing. Like, as we've discussed probably more than we needed to on the review episode, there's just no reason in the world for Martian Manhunter to be the one having that conversation with Lois.
Yeah.
And as cool as it is to see Martian Manhunter, and as much as I like Martian Manhunter as a character, it just doesn't seem to work quite as well as I think it should.
No, I completely agree. The Martian Manhunter ruins that scene. The end scene, I think, is great, but
like if that's him showing up like for the first time on Earth, basically, I know that kind of goes against his origin, where he kind of, well, I mean, I guess it depends on which origin we're talking about too. But like if he's been playing detective and cop and all that other stuff, and then decides to finally reveal himself to the world as Martian Manhunter, and he's been here for a while and figuring things out, then I don't know. But if like that's him showing up to Earth for the first time saying, I got signals that this was what was going on and I came to help, but I was too late to help, but I'll be there for the next one. To me, that makes more sense. And I know that's a clumsy description of how it would have gone, but I think you understand what I'm saying. It just, him being here for an established amount of time and not helping out versus him saying I showed up to help and I just didn't quite make it in time to be a contributor here, but I'm around next time if you need me. Mm-hmm. It just makes better sense to me.
Yeah.
Additionally, I did get, I think it was a meme or a quote or something, I can't remember, I saw where it was, the reason Martian Manhunter didn't show up, and it's like, in the little quotation marks it says fire everywhere. It's like, nah, guys, I'll see you on the next round.
Yeah, Brendan, anything to add to that?
Not really. Well, I think we all share the same feelings with that Martha scene. It's stronger if it comes from her. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, yeah, the fan service was great, and I was like fist bumping when it happened. But yeah, it's kind of ruins that scene. But yeah, like I can for him not appearing previously, like I totally get the argument. Because Swanwick stood by and watched some pretty horrific shit happen, when he could have done something to stop it. I guess in Man of Steel, you could argue that it's like, you know, he didn't know how humans would react to an alien, so he still sort of kept things, you know, secret because, well, if he doesn't have to go first, he can watch and see how they react to Kal-El, essentially. But by BVS, you know, when Doomsday's ripping shit up and he knows, you know, that the public, for the most part, do really like Superman, you know, he could have lent a hand in that.
Except
that
all that fire, though, man. He ain't coming near that.
That's true, but yeah, I'm with you guys for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just it. Is like in Man of Steel, if you watch the scenes, he's leading the "what the hell is this alien up to" brigade for the U.S. government. And why would he be doing that if he was an alien himself? Like it just doesn't gel, you know.
No, it doesn't. Any scrutiny at all, any kind of magnifying glass you put on that whole concept of him being Swanwick the entire time, it's just not good.
Yeah,
it's not.
Yeah,
sorry.
Nope, I know.
I'm the biggest Zack Snyder fan you'll ever see in your life, but I'm here to tell you it just doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless they start filling in the blanks with this other movie that's probably never going to happen.
Yeah, you would have to do a lot of retconning to all the events previous to Justice League to make it truly make sense. And so as it stands, I'm just like, okay, it is what it is. Doesn't really add up. Try not to think about it too much, you know.
You know what they should do? They should make a movie where, like, we go back in time and play scenes out from other movies again.
Oh yeah, we should. And just haphazardly create new timelines and not give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's worked before.
Even getting involved in this conversation. We need to go to the next question now.
I'm shit stirring. Let's talk about something less controversial. Amber Heard.
Right, exactly. Let's talk about something everyone can agree on. Okay, so thoughts on Amber Heard. Brendan, keep going.
Look, it's a bit of a running joke with us. Like, yeah, I think she's smoking hot. So I'm quite forgiving with Amber Heard on most things. But the fan in me, for the sake of continuity, really wants it to be Amber Heard in Aquaman 2. I genuinely think her being in the movie could hurt it, though. So a recast probably isn't the worst thing. And I get it. Like, I think we talked about this a while ago. It was before Christmas sometime, I think, when this sort of all happened. But, like, I just don't think you can look like, I don't know if he was fired or if he walked away, what the official story is. I don't remember, or if it could be spin, I'm not sure. But they're both as bad as each other, I think, when it comes to their relationship, for different reasons. And you can't kind of asshole Depp from your Harry Potter franchise, but then keep Amber Heard for your big superhero franchise. I think if one goes, they've both got to go. Which, yeah, like I said, the fan in me, for continuity's sake, kind of irks me, but I also get it, looking at it from the other point of view as well.
Mm-hmm. Jamie?
I don't really know what to say here. I don't know any of the details about why everybody hates Amber Heard. I just know that it has something to do with Johnny Depp. The only specific detail I know of is apparently she took a crap in his bed. I've known couples who have done far worse than that to each other over the span of years of marriage or relationship or whatever else. So that can't be it. And honestly, I don't know. I don't care. If she's a POS human being, so be it. I'm sure there's a lot of them out there. I'm sure there's a lot of them that aren't, but I'm sure there's a lot of them that are.
Not in Hollywood,
just-
surely not.
I don't care enough about their relationship to get involved in reading details about it or anything else. So if she's done something to make herself established as a horrific human being, so be it. Can her ass. I don't care. But I don't know. The whole celebrity gossip thing just isn't really my bag. So I haven't paid any attention to it.
Yeah, that's probably good. So yeah, I guess what I'll say is, I'm a huge Johnny Depp fan. I always have been, and so the whole drama with him and Amber Heard has been really sad. But honestly, when you read the accounts, and I've sort of paid attention, but honestly not as deep as many have, it seems like there's plenty of blame to go around. It doesn't seem like either of them was innocent in this. It seems like it was a very toxic relationship that brought out the worst in both of them. And so, that's kind of how I feel about that. But I will also say, since they're split, Johnny Depp has taken the high road and Amber Heard has not. Like Johnny Depp, gave her $7 million as the divorce settlement, and she said she was going to give it to charity, and she didn't. She kept it. And I don't know. He stepped away from the Potter franchise.
Yeah, I couldn't remember how that went down.
He said, okay, fine. I don't want to bring any bad press to you, and so he stepped away. And Amber Heard has not to Aquaman. So I don't know. Of course, I have a little bias just because I'm a fan of his, but at the same time, that doesn't excuse some of the behavior. But to me, it just seems like it was a really horrible relationship that brought out the worst in both of them. So Brendan, I think, has a very valid point, whereas if Depp shouldn't or couldn't continue with the Fantastic Beasts, why is it okay for Amber Heard to continue with Aquaman? But I will also say, and maybe this is very unpopular, is whatever they did in their personal relationship shouldn't necessarily affect their employment.
That I agree with too.
Even if they were shitty to each other when they were married, and by all accounts they were, they both should still be able to work, unless they did something horrible at work. I don't know. So if she got replaced, I wouldn't shed a tear. Like Brendan, it would be a little bit of a bummer because the continuity. But yeah, I wouldn't be particularly heartbroken because, as we mentioned, I think in the last sometime recently, we talked about how she's fine in Aquaman, but she's certainly not the best part of it, and she's certainly not the strongest actor. So it's not going to be too big of a loss if she does get replaced.
I mean, we can dye Anne Hathaway's hair red, and we know she can act. So yeah, I'm just saying. I
mean, the popular fan speculation is Emilia Clarke, and I don't think anyone would be mad about that.
I think that's a lateral move in the acting department, but yeah, I would be okay with it.
Yeah, but you'd save so much money on cleaning sheets. All right. Anyway, next message is from Devin Stanley. It says, hey guys, I loved your review of Justice League. In it, you talk about the pregnancy test, but you said the movie never touched on it again. But at the end of the movie, during the I bought the bank scene, Bruce says, congratulations, by the way, as they walk away. And I interpret it as congratulations on the pregnancy. Maybe I'm crazy. What do you think? Also, I think Jamie referred to Avengers as having a Phantom Menace ending. Maybe I heard him wrong, but as someone who loves both those movies, what does that mean? Love you guys, Devin. Thanks, Devin. So yeah, as I mentioned on the last episode, I received 50 or 60 messages about, because we said, oh yeah, we see a pregnancy test, but they never confirm it. I will say, of course, I heard Bruce say congratulations, but I thought he meant the engagement.
Same.
That's how I took it too. But then the flood opened up, and yes, I've seen it twice now. Even without people sending me the pictures, I've seen it twice in the movie.
And so, yeah, Lois is carrying a baby basket, but it is, come on. It's it's not even a close-up. It's a wide shot of her walking in with Martha. So, but yes, we got it, guys.
I just thought it was a basket. I didn't, yeah. I know that that's what it is. It's been confirmed and stuff. I get it too. But yeah, it was very subtle.
Yeah. Anyway, so Jamie, explain. I know what you mean by the Phantom Menace ending, but please explain to Devin.
The really super abridged version of it, so we can get to more questions, is they both end the same in that they destroyed the mother control ship and the drone shut down and they don't have to fight them anymore.
Yeah. Yep. Which makes sense for the Phantom Menace because they're all droids, but in the Avengers, they're all living beings. So why would that shut them down?
I adore that movie. I've said it time and time again, and I'll say it till I'm dead. I love that movie. I adore that movie. I have so much fun every single time I watch that movie. That ending is crap.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even Joss Whedon said that. And he wrote it. He's like, yeah, I'm not proud of that. So, anyway, next one's from Matt Wheeler. It says, hey guys, I know you've gotten tons of questions about Zack Snyder's Justice League. I'm going to add to it. Something I noticed that I hadn't before was in the history lesson scene. I noticed when Wonder Woman was about to slam her bracelets together, her forearms glowed. As I watched the history lesson in Justice League, I noticed that Zeus and Artemis also had glow going on them when they were going to use their lightning and arrows. I didn't notice Ares, so I'm going to have to go back and watch, but I thought it was a cool tie-in to remind us that Diana is of god blood. Did you notice? Thanks. I always enjoy your comments, Matt. Thanks, Matt. Honestly, I didn't really notice. I never really made that connection.
Say I did either.
Yeah, I never made that connection, but I think that's cool, and that makes sense.
I guess I got a reason to watch it a fifth time now. Thanks.
There you go. Watch it in black and white. And the glow will be in white.
All I hear when I say I've watched it 4 times is somebody sitting around going, I've seen it 126 times now, you slack-ass lazy bastard. I know somebody out there hasn't stopped watching it since it came out. I know there's somebody out there that hasn't. Yeah. I know there is.
Yeah.
There has to be.
I literally know someone who hasn't. So. But yeah, that's what I said previously. I think it's sort of the downside to a 4-hour movie is, the rewatchability is going to take a hit.
Yeah. Finding lots of extra 4 hours here and there.
Yeah.
All right, next message is Fernando Granadino. It says, hey, Andy, Jamie, Brendan, happy 300th episode. Congrats on being an awesome podcast. I wanted to ask you guys about the post-Snyder Cut world that we live in. The movie was awesome, honestly, everything I hoped it would be. I've been part of the Release the Snyder Cut movement since 2018, and I found many like-minded people, and I'm happy to call my friends. It was a long, hard-fought battle, but we won. It's an unprecedented feat, and we ended with a movie that every single DC fan can be proud of. Cries to restore the Snyderverse are now everywhere. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing more I'd like to see than Snyder develop his whole DCEU plan, but the reaction of so many fans has not been what I was expecting. I've seen so much negativity towards WB that it's really disheartening. Not even 24 hours had passed since the release when many fans were all over social media bashing the studio. It didn't help, of course, that WB came out saying that there wouldn't be a continuation of the Snyderverse and that they hope fans will stand behind their new projects. The timing of the article can be questioned, but that's another story. I've seen nothing but demanding and petulant comments since the article came out. Why can't fans take the win and savor the moment? This is a case of give them a finger and they'll take the whole hand, in my opinion. Every hateful tweet only makes things worse and gets us further from the goal. Why would WB or any studio ever want to do something like this again when all they got was hate from a community that got what it wanted and still acted this way? Personally, I think studios could become wary of getting behind Zack Snyder's projects because he comes with a lot of baggage in the form of a massive following, with a large part of it being toxic. Do you guys think Snyder should say something to his fans? He's obviously been behind Release the Snyder Cut from the get-go, but maybe it's time to steer the ship in the right direction. What do you think? Anyway, sorry for the long email and embedded questions. I hope this leads to a good discussion. Keep rocking as a podcast. I hope to be listening to you guys for many more years to come and hopefully be on an episode down the road. I had my answer to who's your favorite Batman ready for years now. Cheers from Dallas, Fernando. All right, thanks, Fernando. Ooh, that's a tricky question. Jamie, you want to start?
I'm just going to say this. There is a lot of really good, strong, faithful fans out there that did a lot of footwork and a lot of positive reinforcement to try and get this thing done. There's a lot of people that were the exact opposite of that. A lot of them. And, well, I'm not going to say there were more of them than there were the good, but boy, that minority seemed awfully vocal with some of the stuff. And this isn't addressing this particular one from Fernando, but like from anybody, I'm going to address by saying this. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. The precedent has been set now that these things can happen if you make this push, and that entitles people to keep pushing. If it's going to continue to be done in a civilized, proper, non-aggressive fashion, great. If you're one of those people that's going on every single tweet from HBO Max and Warner Brothers and everything else, Facebook, Twitter, whatever other social media platforms, and you're ruining movie endings, giving away spoilers, review bombing things, and then dropping that hashtag of Restore the Snyderverse, fuck you. Because that's just exactly what I don't want to be involved with. I don't even want to have any association with that whatsoever. That is completely ridiculous. You're not screwing shit up for a studio doing that. You're screwing shit up for fans like you doing shit like that. And I can't stand that. I don't want to say anything else because I don't want to get all kinds of worked up tonight. And I'm already a little high on the blood pressure from that one. So, yeah, I've said what I need to say.
Okay.
So counterproductive. Yeah, it's so counterproductive doing that. Like, yeah, I mean, I've been hashtagging Restore the Snyderverse numerous times in the last 3 weeks now since it came out.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like when I heard about, and apparently it was a very small minority too, but like because it was, you know, because of what they did, they got a lot of traction for it. But you know, like review bombing Godzilla versus Kong and stuff like that, like. Yeah, the studio may have made an error in judgment with what they did with Justice League. We know that. I think everybody knows that. But trying to shit can everything they do moving forward is so counterproductive because the studio still needs to make money in order for them to make the movies that we like and that we want to see. So, yeah, ridiculous behavior, and I certainly don't condone it. But I mean, I think Zack's made it pretty clear too over the last couple of years. Like, yes, he's been behind the movement. He encouraged the movement, but he encouraged the good people, to my knowledge anyway. See, I didn't go.
I know exactly where Andy's head went when you said that, and I'm not even going to get into it on air. Ask me later.
But I don't blame Zack Snyder for that. I don't blame Zack Snyder for that because I don't expect Zack Snyder to know who was shitty and who wasn't. He's got other things that he's doing with his time, so I don't necessarily expect him to know.
I agree, but just the same, I know exactly where your brain went with that.
Yeah, like I never went too deep on the whole release this, you know, the Snyder Cut thing. Like I've said, I threw it out there, you know, on the days that they had campaigns and stuff, but I kind of just turned off to it otherwise because we've said on this on this show, like countless times, like we didn't think it was going to happen. I thought, you know, I thought the charity work and stuff they were doing was fantastic, but I thought it was kind of a lost cause. But like we've said, the last 12 months almost since they announced this movie was coming and since its release, like the doors are blown off now, like anything's possible. Yeah, but I'm totally with Jamie, and I know you'd be the same, Andy. Like you can support something in a very positive way, and then there's the shitty way, and people doing it the shitty way can go and do exactly what Jamie said they can do, because I don't want to have to make you edit again.
Thanks, Brendan. Thank you for that. You probably heard my pen scratching as soon as Jamie said that. I was like, oh, damn it.
I had a little chuckle to myself.
I mean, yeah, we're all on the same page. And here's the thing, like, would it be nice if all the fans who were pushing for, you know, Restore the Snyderverse, if they were all doing it in the most positive and respectful way possible? Of course that would be nice, but that's never going to happen. It's always going to be everything. You know, they're going to be the people who do it respectfully, they're the people who do it positively, and they're going to be the people who are just being a-holes about it, who've been a-holes about this for the past 4 years. And they're just going to continue to do it because they feel empowered based on what happened. They got what they wanted. They learned that it worked. So it sucks that the positive and the negative get mixed up together because the people who did it right, they deserved it. Darn it! And the people, I almost wish you could have prevented the jerks from watching it because they didn't do it right, and frankly, it was a little embarrassing to be kind of lumped in with those types of fans. And I think that's still the case. I, like you, Fernando, I'm very disappointed by some of the reactions to Zack Snyder's Justice League, not in whether or not they like the movie, but in the fact that we won. They won. We got Zack cut of the movie. We got it, and it's great, and we love it, and that's awesome. But instead of being happy about that, it's just another fight. It's just another excuse to shit on WB. It's just continually, daily, an excuse to continue, beating the dead horse of how bad the theatrical cut is. Every single day. It's yeah, we know. We've seen all those scenes now for 4 years. We know you don't like them, but every single day they're just posting them again going, can you believe that they put this in? Yeah, we know. Let's celebrate the good version that we just got. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about why it's good. Let's not just continue to beat the dead horse of the old one, but that's what's still happening. It's this weird thing where it's nobody's ever happy. I believe in restore the Snyderverse. I want to see what happens next. I'm not holding my breath, but I would love it. But that also means that doesn't mean I can't look forward to The Flash, and it doesn't mean I can't look forward to Black Adam, and it doesn't mean I can't look forward to, the Suicide Squad or any other DC project. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And there are a lot of fans who feel the same way, and for them, I'm with you guys. It doesn't have to be one or the other. It can be both. But for the people who are I'm boycotting everything until you restore the Snyderverse, that doesn't feel productive to me. If anything, we want to show Warner Brothers and or HBO Max that it is in their best interest to continue making DC projects because they're profitable. You don't teach them a lesson by making DC projects fail. You teach them a lesson by making them successful, because then they'll continue to want to make more. So it is weird, and it's not. And again, it's a weird situation where I see people doing it in a very cool way, and I'm like, great, more power to you. I hope it works. But then you see the people who are just, who are a-holes about it, and it's like, oh, please don't lump me in with those people, Yeah. Who, when WB tweets something completely innocent about Tom and Jerry is leaving HBO Max, and you get all this screw you and Snyder, restore Snyderverse. It's it's about Tom and Jerry. Let it be about Tom and Jerry. This is not the time, So yeah. All right,
that's a question. I can just keep going on all night, but I'm not gonna.
All right, let's move forward. This is from Brian B. It says, hey guys, I hope you didn't get couch sores from the 4-hour marathon of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Usually I like to send my questions sporadically over the course of the year, but as you can tell, there's a lot going on. My question is this. People talk about the biggest mistake that WB made was not giving Cavill a true Superman sequel, which I agree with. However, for me, I think the biggest error, cosmic Treadwell correction, was I think they should have just signed Affleck for 3 solo films and created a trilogy out of the world-weary Batman in his world, not the DC world. Well, I'm not going to map out a potential trilogy of villains or directors and casting, but my question is, what would you have liked to see from a never-going-to-happen trilogy of Ben Affleck as Batman? Personally, I would have liked a softer but darker, older Batman, much in the vein of BVS, but none of the killing and branding, who regains his humanity over 3 films, maybe with the introduction of a Robin. I think there would have been a lot of potential in that, and if they were well received, Ben Affleck could have cemented himself as the definitive Batman. Thoughts? Lastly, in terms of the Snyder Cut, here are my 2 cents. It's much improved from the 2017 version. It's a B- instead of a C-. But for me, Snyder poisoned the well too much in BVS for me to really love the film. Maybe it's a me problem, though though I'll admit it. However, for a guy who seems nothing if not the definition of a class act, I'm glad he went out on his terms with his vision and can now say he left it all on the field, departing with his head held high. While his version never connected with me after Man of Steel, I truly wish Mr. Snyder the best of luck, and I eagerly await Memorial Day for his zombie heist movie, which looks amazing. As always, thanks for the hard work, and for 3 fans that were respectful in their desire to see the Snyder Cut, and when listening to it during work, can feel the love and desire to kiss that movie square on the mouth. I'm glad that you got the movie you always wanted. Thanks, Brian. So what do you guys think about, like, if a Ben Affleck trilogy that would have led to BVS?
The 2 things that I would want to see would be what happened to Robin. Specifically, maybe 3 things: what happened to Robin, what happened to Wayne Manor, if that wasn't what happened to Robin, and Deathstroke losing the eye.
Okay. Brendan?
I just want to see a movie set in Arkham.
Yeah.
Really? Like, I still can't believe that hasn't happened. Like, just Batman in Arkham Asylum for, whatever reason. There's a riot, there's a lockdown, something, whatever. But essentially, you don't, you get the setup. You might have, Batman, Bruce in the cave at the start or whatever, and then it's Arkham for the rest of the film.
Mm-hmm.
So many villains, big or small, cameos here and there. But, I want to see a Batman Arkham movie.
All right. Yeah, I mean, for me, of course, I would have loved an Affleck trilogy. I think that would have been amazing. But I do think that was, I don't think he wanted to do a trilogy. It was a 3-picture deal, and I don't think, and his trilogy was BVS, Justice League 1, Justice League 2. Like, I think that was always the plan, and then they got scared and they turned the Justice League 2 commitment into the solo film that never happened. And so I just think he didn't want to dedicate that much time to being Batman. So that's why I think that was never part of the plan. But yeah, I agree with both of you guys. I think that, the Arkham movie would be great. I think that the whatever happened to Robin, I think would have been great too. So yeah, I mean, I agree with both of those things. And what Ben Affleck had planned for him and Deathstroke, and apparently the Riddler. Apparently the Riddler was a big part of that movie too. We had heard recently. So there's your trilogy, I guess, right? It's like it could have been Batman and Arkham, Batman, Death of Robin, and then Batman versus Deathstroke.
Here for it.
All right. Next message is from Kyle Belbach. It says, "Hey guys, apologies if you've touched on this before, but I'm curious if you warmed to Steppenwolf's design after seeing it in action in the movie. Previously, you, Andy, had stated that you were not super fond of it." Kyle. Well, Kyle, hopefully now you have listened to the episode. And yes, I did say once I saw it in action in context of the movie, I got used to it and I ended up really liking it. But yeah, I wasn't as big of a fan of the change prior to seeing the movie. But no, now I think it works and I'm actually into it. So it is possible to change your mind.
I all day. I don't think the still photos were worth a crap to get me excited for it, but seeing it actually in motion, in action, in the film, in context, yeah, I definitely think it was. I think it's the better of the 2 versions that we got.
Yeah, I agree.
Cut and paste.
All right. Next message is from Tom Fallows. It says, "Hey, I loved your recent podcast, and I love the Snyder Cut. It was an epic adventure we deserved 3 years ago. The movie didn't only make me want another Zack Snyder Justice League film, but it also made me want a Ray Fisher Cyborg film. I love the Snyder Cut and thought it literally flew by. However, I do get that the studios thought it was too long for distribution in cinemas. If Snyder had released this in 2017, what do you think would have been a more reasonable time scale for it? And what scenes do you think could have been trimmed or cut to make it? For me, it's going to be the nightmare scene at the end. It felt tacked on, and the vision Cyborg had during Superman's resurrection was enough of a tease. Thanks again, Tom Fallows." And he says, "P.S. As a British person, I don't think that Alfred teaching Diana how to make a cup of tea should have been cut. We can all stand to learn how to make a good brew. I would just extend the scene with adding of some biscuits on the side." All right, thanks, Tom. Okay, so what do you think as far as length of the movie and what you could have cut? Brendan?
Like I said before with that scene, like, very British. But there's no reason for it to be there. It really did. As I was watching it, it made me think of like, you watch a movie and then you watch the deleted scenes, and some of them you'll just be like, why did they even film this? Like, what was the point of this? This is one of those scenes to me. And like I said before, don't get me wrong, I do genuinely like it. I think it's a charming as hell scene, but it didn't need to be there. I'm struggling to think now off the top of my head other stuff that could have easily gone. I think a lot of scenes could have been shortened. Lost some of the slow motion stuff. But yeah, the tea scene's definitely sort of the first one that springs to my mind. As nice as it is, that it could have gone.
Mm-hmm. What do you think, Jamie?
I mean, being an American, we know how to make things in mass quantities, so we just dump the tea right off the side of the boat. That's how we do it.
Mm.
All right. That was bad. I know. As far as stuff that I want cut out of the film to shorten it down, honestly, I have complaints about, the nightmare sequence and how that didn't really click for me, or tweaks that could have been done with Martian Manhunter, or not even having to make it Martian Manhunter with the conversation with Lois, as we've already talked about too many times. And I'm sure there's other little things that could too, but the fact of the matter is there's nothing that I find in this movie that I would want gone. The nightmare, I just want more clarity on. If there wasn't going to be a continuation, I think it was pointless to even have it there. They should have just kind of let the whole nightmare thing die on the vine, knowing that this would be the last entry. But, if they had a conversation that it was possible to go forward, then I'm okay with it. It's just going to depend on what happens down the road, whether or not I like the nightmare sequence. But the way it stands now, if this is the final of it, no, I don't need that there. So that would be the thing I would cut out if this is truly going to be the swan song for the Snyderverse.
Yeah, I mean, I think in order to make it feasible for theaters, it would have had to gotten down to about 3 hours. So that means finding an hour to cut, which is hard. I can't even think of an hour's worth of material in there that felt unnecessary. So I think that would have been hard.
The clever detractors out there would tell you if they took out 50% of the slow motion, it would have been a 90-minute movie.
Yeah.
Just like the Lord of the Rings movies are all about walking.
Anyway,
yeah.
I agree with both of you guys. I do think you could just lose that nightmare scene completely. I don't think it adds anything, honestly. Sorry. You could lose it. Doesn't matter. Doesn't change the movie at all. Yeah, and you're right. Like some of the nicer, charming character moments, like the scene with the tea. Even though I love it, do you really need it? No, you can lose it, and it doesn't change much. Same thing with like the stuff with the gauntlets. Like it's cool that there was some explanation for why Batman's gauntlets were able to deflect energy, but you could probably lose it, and I think people would still go with it because it's a comic book movie. The big one, and I know this is going to be unpopular, but what the heck, I totally understand why you would cut the Barry Allen saving Iris moment. Because it's a really great scene, but from a story perspective, you don't need it. It doesn't give you any info that you need. And it's pretty long.
It's actually only about 2 minutes.
Well, okay.
Maybe 3 tops.
Well, still, it's funny because I think when we talked about it, Brendan goes, "Why would you cut that?" And I was like, I get why you cut it, because there's no important information other than he's fast, which you're going to find out. But it's a very intricate and expensive and impressive scene to cut, so I get that. But from a storytelling perspective, you don't need it.
Yeah.
All right, great. Next message is from Zachary Butson. It says, "Hey guys, longtime listener, yada yada, first time, so forth. I've been a huge DC fan my entire life, and even though I stopped watching DC movies after Justice League in 2017, I never missed a single episode of Holy BatCast." Aw, that's awesome. It says, "You guys kept me up to date, and the positivity and enthusiasm from you gave me hope that DC movies would one day give me the same joy. I decided to get back into the movies this year, and while Wonder Woman 1984 had me somewhat regretting that, there is much in Snyder's Justice League that I did enjoy. One thing that bugged me, however, was Aquaman slamming an empty glass whiskey bottle into the ocean. Did it irritate you guys? Isn't that why he's always had a somewhat distaste for surface dwellers, and why his people always go to war with us? Is there anything Snyder was trying to say with that, or simply another case of him filming something cool despite that it might go against the character? You guys are the best, Zach. Thanks, Zach. What do you think? I have seen this a little bit of like Aquaman throwing the bottle would be not something Aquaman would do. What do you think, Brendan?
I can't disagree with that. I think it makes for a cool shot. And, you know, it fits in with the narrative of Momoa himself being like a, you know, alcohol chugging, you know, guy that he is. But yeah, I don't disagree. I don't care that much about it, but I also see the argument of like, well, but I mean, it's also more Orm who has the issue with humans rather than Arthur as well. But still, it's not the best look, but it's a fleeting thing that I think just, you know, looks cool, and that's what it's meant to be, as opposed to some statement or otherwise, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Jamie, what do you think?
You could almost translate that as a protest, because at that point he was still very bitter toward the Atlanteans, towards his mother feeling abandoned and whatnot, and that's kind of his FU to them in that moment. It is Orm that has more of the problem with the pollution of the oceans and all that other sort of thing versus Aquaman, and even so, it's really pre-Aquaman solo movie, so I don't know. You could make the argument that yes, that's probably going against what he might stand for, but at the same time, you know, he rescues that guy from that boat that's sinking right before that, right? And do you think he went down and pulled up every single piece of rubble from that boat? I don't. I think he just let it sink down there. So, I mean, if you got a problem with the whiskey bottle, you got to have a problem with him leaving that boat down there, even though he's fully capable of going down there and getting all that stuff out of the water, right? I don't know. I mean, you could make yourself crazy trying to wonder about that. I think it was just a stylized scene that Zack likes to do, and I think it's probably reading too much into it that's against Aquaman's character to do something like that, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. First of all, I think it's not that big a deal, but I do understand the point. I understand the question. But yeah, I mean, if you think about where Arthur is at this place, he doesn't have a lot of love for Atlantis. You know, right now, he's sort of not a part of either world. Like, he still helps where he can because he can't help himself, but he is not a particularly responsible person when you meet him in Justice League. That really doesn't happen until the solo film. You know, it starts to happen in Justice League when he decides he's still going to help against Steppenwolf, but this is even prior to that. So I think that's your answer, is Arthur's still, you know, he's sort of a drifter and he helps, but he's not committed himself to protecting the oceans or Atlantis. He's just, you know, he's of two worlds, but he doesn't belong to either right now. And he doesn't really embrace Atlantis until the solo film. All right, next message is from Julian Espinoza. It says, hey guys, so after watching Zack Snyder's Justice League, I became a much bigger fan of Ezra Miller's The Flash and Ray Fisher's Cyborg. Felt like they had much more characterization given to them, whereas in the theatrical cut, they just felt like side characters. I can't help think Zack made this choice because he thought that possibly this would be the only time we would see them in the DCEU. Since the big three are Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman, they're always safe bets, and Aquaman was guaranteed a movie. With all that said, I'm really sad that this will probably be the last time we see Ray Fisher's Cyborg. Do you think there's still a possibility he could have his solo film, or at the very least, appear in the Flash film? Do you think the events of Justice League will have consequences for Barry in his solo film? Sorry for the long email. Thanks, Julian. What do you think, Jamie? Do you think we'll see Cyborg again? Do you think he could get his own movie or show up in the Flash?
I would be okay with it. I would be okay with him showing up in Flash. I think the boat sailed on both of them at this point, and I wouldn't anticipate it being done.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it could have happened, but yeah, at this point, I do think this will be the last we see of him as Cyborg. Brendan, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a shame. Like, I'm not the biggest Cyborg fan. I think I said before, like, I'm more of a Martian Manhunter in the Justice League fan. Um, but he was great in this movie, and what they did with the character was really cool. I think he worked best in his scenes with Barry. Like, I really, really liked their friendship, and their relationship. So I don't know. I mean, obviously, I would have gone and seen it if it was a solo Cyborg film, but I am disappointed that he's not showing up in the Flash movie, because that would have been A, good continuity, and B, just really cool to see those two who have a genuine rapport on screen together, back together on screen.
Yeah, I agree. I wish they'd have worked it out, and he could have continued, but I'm not counting on it. And then will Justice League have consequences for Barry in his solo film? I don't know about consequences, but I do think that we know that him being able to enter the Speed Force is going to be a big part of the solo film, and that was set up in Justice League. So yeah, I think there will be connective tissue at the very least. What do you guys think?
For the theatrical, most likely. I mean, they've made it pretty clear that Zack's version isn't canon, so yeah.
All right. Moving forward, next message is from Adam Stabelli. It says, "Hey guys, I wanted to get your thoughts on the Restore the Snyderverse movement that started up in the wake of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Do you agree that WB should let Snyder make Justice League 2 and 3 and finish his vision, or do you side with WB when it comes to wanting to move on? Personally, I'm all for letting Zack finish his vision, but I don't want this new movement to become too toxic. I'm excited for the upcoming DC films, but I'm worried that they could get lost in the noise. Thanks for the great show, Adam." Thanks, Adam. I think we already kind of covered this, yeah?
Yeah, I think I've said all about that topic I want to talk about tonight.
Yeah, we definitely would love for them to continue if everybody wanted to continue. But to your point, I don't want that to in any way hinder or damage the other DC films that are coming, because we're excited about those too. So, sweet.
Except for maybe the Suicide Squad. You can damage that, because that...
Okay.
Let me retract that before I get all kinds of nasty hate. I hope the movie does well. I hope people out there enjoy it, but man, that trailer ain't doing shit for me.
Okay. Next message is from Mark Bickford. It says, "Hey guys, I hope this reaches you before the Justice League follow-up show, as I have a few ideas that I wanted your thoughts on. First, let me say I love the movie and so many of the criticisms that I consider nitpicks, not fatal flaws. I know you talked about Amber Heard's accent, but what is that weird face that she makes when she uses her powers? It was in the theatrical cut too, and it was off-putting then. I'm glad James Wan got her to stop doing it. But if they didn't make the talking bubbles, she wouldn't have been able to see her pulling the water out of Steppenwolf. Did you notice the recurring visual motif in the earlier parts of the film where a tattered flag or cloth obscures the screen for a bit at the opening of a scene? It happened several times in the first 4 parts, including the opening of the Batman on the gargoyle shot. I'm sure Snyder was using it as symbolic of the death of Superman hanging over everything. The biggest flaw to me is one that I'm sure would have eventually been fixed, was the part about Darkseid not remembering where the anti-life equation was. He found it during the battle in the history lesson, so at the very least he should have realized where it was when the mother boxes woke, since he would have known that that's where they were lost. It would have been better had it not shown up in the initial battle. By the way, I love the bit that after Batmobile was destroyed in the fake Chernobyl, Batman followed up by building the Dark Knight Returns Batmobile tank. The thing that gets me is that so many fans have fallen into the DC is dark, DC is gritty, and therefore we shouldn't like Aquaman or Shazam or whatever. I don't see it that way. To me, the thing that differentiated the DCEU films was that they focused more on what it would actually be like to be these people. What does it mean to do the right thing when you can do anything? What does it do to a man to spend a life and fortune on a quest that eventually he realizes is futile? How does an immortal woman leave an actual paradise to live with mortals in a flawed world? That to me was the sensibility that has run through most of the DCEU films, pretty much all except maybe Birds of Prey, and I love them for that. Thanks for all you do, Mark. Thanks, Mark. So, I mean, I guess it's not a lot of questions. It's mostly observations. But anything you wanna hit on there, Jamie?
I like Batman.
Good.
All right.
I'm okay.
All right, good. Okay, so I guess I'll say, yeah, we kind of mentioned Amber Heard, like some of the differences between what they did here and what they did in Aquaman. I pretty much preferred Aquaman. Interesting observation about the tattered flags and cloths that I didn't really pick up on, but now I will. And then, yeah, the dark side anti-life equation, that's something that has been touched on. And we mentioned it, I think, in the last episode. There's not a great explanation for it. And yeah, I know a lot of folks have an issue with that. Next message is from Ralph Richards. It says, "Hey guys, hope you're doing well. I wanted to begin by saying that I really enjoyed your show and the deep dive on Zack Snyder's Justice League. The film was great, and I hope the WBDC understands the positive reception can continue the Snyderverse in some capacity. One thing I really enjoyed in the film was the amount of Easter eggs. So many details to make any DC fan smile. So what I want to ask is, what was everyone's favorite Easter egg? Personally, mine was one that I missed on the first viewing and only saw screenshots afterward, which is the mutant gang tied up in front of the Bat Tank at the end of the film. That made me smile so much. Sorry for the long email, but as always, thank you for putting out the best Bat content out there. Cheers, Skip." Thanks, Skip. So, do you have a favorite Easter egg in Zack Snyder's Justice League, Brendan?
God, I know there's a lot in there, and there's probably a lot that I'm still not even aware of. Look, off the top of my head, I do think the mutant gang thing is really cool. I'm just struggling to think of other ones. I know there's heaps in there. I just can't remember them right now. Did you know that Lois is carrying a baby basket?
Oh,
Did you see that?
no.
That's it. I'm hanging up.
Yeah. You guys might say other things that trigger my memory, but at the moment, that's the one thing I can think of that is very cool.
Okay. Jamie, anything for you?
I mean, I don't know if you could call either one necessarily an Easter egg, but I'll go with it. But, you know, the Dark Knight Returns Batmobile that has been, I guess, dubbed the Bat Tank now, you know, that was something that I never expected I would see. And God damn it, I wish it wasn't in the trailer. And I wish I would have saw it in the film for the first time. But whatever, man. That was probably definitely my favorite. Not probably. It definitely was. Not probably, definitely. It definitely was. But also, I got to give a quick shout out to, I love the Green Lantern action in the little flashback tale with Darkseid.
Mm-hmm.
But I love the Green Lantern thing in the theatrical version too, even though it was much shorter. But, you know, I like Green Lantern, so.
All right. I agree. Yeah, again, I don't know if I'd really call these Easter eggs, but yeah, I guess I should have thought harder beforehand. But the first one is Granny Goodness, just because she's there. You know, she doesn't get any lines. They don't ever talk about her, but just that Granny Goodness is right there on the other side of Darkseid, that really got my geek brain going. I thought that was so cool. And the other thing, it's, again, less of an Easter egg, but a subtle callback, is when Clark and Lois are back at the farmhouse, and there's the shot from outside the window with the swing on the right side of the screen, which is like almost exactly the same shot in Man of Steel. And I just thought that was a really great callback to Man of Steel. So those are the two that I can think of.
I did think of another one.
Okay, great.
I just guess it's an Easter egg, I guess, but it's the shot of that damn open pot again in the Kryptonian ship that they showed in Man of Steel. Like,
yeah.
I want to know what the story is with that.
Supergirl, that's confirmed.
Is it?
Yes.
Hashtag confirmed?
It is.
Well, and
there was some prequel comic or something that confirmed that's part of canon, last I heard.
Really?
Yes.
I loved that when they showed that, you could still see where Clark wiped off the dust.
Yes!
And it was like perfectly done. I thought that was great. All right. Very cool. Next message is from Matt Wheeler. It says, "Hello again. If you all had to decide where Zack Snyder's Justice League needed to be cut in order to fit it..." Oh, okay. What would you leave out? What would you have to say? We already covered that, Matt. Thank you. Next message is from Daniel. It says, hey guys, having watched the behind the scenes on HBO Max and the Blu-ray for both versions of Justice League, was the black suit added digitally or did they shoot it twice to keep it secret? You clearly see Henry in the end and the red and blue in the behind the scenes with Zack even before the reshoots. I kind of wish they would have left the original suit for the shirt rip at the end. Daniel, number one, totally agree. That final shot should have been the red and blue suit. Should have been.
Agree.
Yes, 100%. But my understanding is they shot the whole thing in the traditional costume because that is what WB wanted. Because it's like, no, people have complained that they haven't gotten the Superman they've wanted. You're not putting him in a black costume. So they shot it in the red and blue. And then once they said, okay, Zack, you can finish it however you want, they digitally recolored it and made it the black costume.
Spot on.
All right. Next question is from Rhodey. It says, hey guys, I hope you're doing well. Congratulations on 300 episodes. You're killing it as always. If Zack Snyder gets to continue his Justice League story, which is a big if, the next chapter would supposedly be largely the Nightmare timeline. So what DC characters would you like to see join with the heroes and villains, and which side is Blue Devil on? Thanks, Rhodey. Blue Devil is definitely on the side of the heroes. Of course he is. But yeah, any other DC characters you would like to see in the Nightmare film? That's an interesting question. Jamie?
All of them.
Okay.
But if I only get to pick one, then I guess Hal Jordan. Just because he's my favorite one that I haven't had involved in this Snyderverse set of films yet.
Yeah.
And before anybody asks me, no, I don't want it to be Ryan Reynolds.
What?
I don't like Ryan Reynolds.
He's your favorite.
No, he's not.
Brendan, anyone you'd like to see join the Nightmare film that we did not see?
I don't know why, but because like of the weird future thing, my brain just instantly jumped to Booster Gold.
Huh. Okay.
I gotta hang up again. Bye.
I don't know if I don't think he would work in that, like that's tone of film.
Well,
but
let me retract what I just said. If I get to see Superman vaporize him after 5 seconds of screen time, I'm cool.
But I mean, yeah, I'm kind of with Jamie. Like all of them, like whoever they want to put in there, I'm more than happy to watch because I'll watch it and I like all the DC characters. So yeah, whatever they want to give me, I'm totally fine with.
Watch, Andy's going to say Monarch.
Oh, I wasn't, but I like it. I'm down with that. Yeah, I guess for heroes, I agree with Jamie, like a Green Lantern. He said Hal Jordan. I'd be cool with Hal Jordan. I'd also be cool with John Stewart. Either way, I think that would be great.
Yeah, I want to reiterate. John would have been cool, but Hal's my Green Lantern. Hal's what I grew up with. Hal's my Green Lantern. He's my preference, but I would be cool with John or slightly less cool with Guy or Kyle. Mm-hmm. Jessica Cruz, I'd be good with that. Yeah.
All right. And then I would say Hawkgirl.
I'd take that.
Because she's, she became such a staple in Justice League because of the animated series, and because there's this alien invasion on Earth, it would make sense that Thanagar would somehow be aware of it or even involved in it somehow, and they could send Hawkman and or Hawkgirl, but I just think because we need a little more girl power on the team, make it Hawkgirl.
You could bring Black Canary in.
Yes, I'd be totally good with that. Journey Smollett Bell, bring it on.
Yep.
Can't bring Harley in.
That's true. And then for villains, I mean, because it's very much a apocalypse invasion, I want Granny Goodness to be more involved in the proceedings and bring the Furies with her.
Lord, if I could see Barda on a screen.
All right, next message is from Cameron, also known as My Neighbor Burrito. He says, hey guys, congrats on 300 episodes. This is just a quick email. Sorry if you've already covered it, but Jamie would know best. The epilogue shot of Justice League where Gordon lights up the bat signal is Batman standing on the Batmobile from The Dark Knight Returns. Cameron.
Yes.
Show enough. Yes, he is. But Zack was very clear. It's the War Machine. He likes to call it that.
War Machine is silver and black.
Oh.
It looks like a dude wearing an iron suit. It's the Batmobile. Something a kid would call it.
All right. Next message is from Matt Poe. It says, hey, I wanted to let you guys know how much I love your show. It's nice to know that there's people out there who love Batman as much as I do. My question I have for you is, are there any current Batman comic runs you would recommend? I just finished the New 52 and I thought it was amazing. Anyway, your show is much appreciated. Be safe, Matt Poe. Thanks, Matt. Oh, it's not about Zack Snyder's Justice League, but current Batman comic runs that Matt should read. Jamie?
I'm still not all the way through Joker War yet, but I would recommend Tynan's current run on it.
Yeah, we both like Tynan's Batman. His Detective Comics run was amazing. His Batman run has been a little more hit and miss for me, but I still enjoy it. But yeah, I would definitely recommend that. Jamie and I did.
You have to remember how long I had to read Tom King to get to that.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was about to say.
So.
Is it's funny because it's like a bunch of people loved the Tom King run, we did not, and it seems like the people who loved the Tom King run do not like the Tynan run, and the people who like the Tynan run did not like the Tom King run. So maybe sample both and see which one is more to your preference.
It's funny that I even say that with people because I was telling my comic book shop advisor, I don't know, this was probably 2-3 years ago, that I said I liked Snyder's Batman, but I didn't really love Snyder's Batman for the New 52. And he said, dude, you have to understand, people were coming off of a big Grant Morrison run when he took over. So there were so many people that just appreciated that it wasn't Grant Morrison doing it anymore, that, you know, they really got on board with a different voice for it. And I thought, well, you know, that's kind of weird. You know, Morrison's very hit or miss for me, but I guess I can probably see that depending on how weird he went with it because I didn't read any of that run. But after reading some 90 issues of Tom King, yeah, I was ready for something else to happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree. And I also feel like when someone takes over the Batman run, you know, obviously I think for comic book writers, it's a lifelong dream to write Batman. And so I think when they take over, they have like this Batman story they've been dying to tell, and it's the one they tell first because it's like they finally get their crack at it. So for Scott Snyder, it was Court of Owls, you know, and for Tom King, it was the like the Lady Gotham. And what was the other guy's name? Anyway, it was sort of that story.
Gotham Girl and
yeah, right. And then
remember Gotham Guy, I guess.
Yeah, and then for Tynan it was the Joker War, right? And like it's like they've been waiting their whole careers to finally tell their big Batman story, and they do it first. And so it seems like they make a big splash with that first one because that's the one they've been waiting to tell. And then it's like, oh well, now I've got to keep going, and I've got to tell a bunch of other stories, and maybe those, you know, those are ones that they're like, oh crap, like now I got to figure out what comes next, and I think maybe that gets a little harder. So anyway, it's just a thought, but yeah, I mean, honestly, like, yeah, check out the King run, see if you like it. Check out the Tynan run, but I think Tynan's detective run is really fantastic.
I co-signed that all day. I loved pretty much all of that.
Yeah,
that was the one that had like the team, wasn't it, with Clayface?
Yeah.
Yes, it was more of a Bat family book than a Batman solo thing, and that's part of why I liked it is because I think he did a really good job with Batwoman and
Tim Drake.
Tim Drake,
yeah. I mean, it was great, but I mean, yes, it was a Bat family book, but like the way Batman was written in that book was so strong, and I think we were like, yeah, this is the Batman we love. And that's why right now, like, I do like the current run, but he's so focused on creating new characters that like at the expense of everything else. And that's my biggest complaint. I still enjoy it. I like it, but it's like he's trying to create a whole new cast of characters. And it's like sometimes it's okay to use characters we already know and love.
Is Alfred still dead?
Yeah.
Yep.
Eh.
But do you know what? I got to tell you guys something. I was reading really old comics. Oh my God, is it Carmine Infantino? Is that his name?
Yep.
It was like this collection of Carmine Infantino Batman comics that our friend Robert Reinecke bought for me for like a couple Christmases ago or something. And it's huge. It's like 600 pages. So it's ridiculous. So it's one of those things where I read a story or two before bed. And I might finish it sometime before my 50th birthday. But I was reading it, and it was a story, I want to say from the 50s, and Alfred was dead. And part of the story was that Bruce Wayne had started this foundation in Alfred's name because Alfred had passed away. And I'm like, wait, Alfred's been dead before? I had no idea. So now I want to know how they brought him back, or was it just one of those things where a new writer took over and now just Alfred was just back? It just didn't matter.
Interesting.
Yeah, they do reset continuity ever so often, so.
Well, my suggestion for a thing to read would be Batman: The Adventures Continue.
That's true. If you like the animated series, it's a good one.
And that's an easy one to get caught up on, too, because it's, I mean, what are they, 10 or 12 issues into it? It's not very deep.
Yeah, something like that. All right, next message is from Jalen Johnson. It says, hey guys, congratulations on your recent 300th episode. I'm emailing to address a statement by Brendan, but I also have a question for Andy.
God, what have I done?
Oh, I can only imagine. It says, on the review episode for Zack Snyder's Justice League, Brendan stated that people really like the film because they've come around on BVS. But I just wanted to say that I didn't like BVS in 2016, and after a recent rewatch, I still don't like it. However, I enjoyed Justice League, and I thought it improved on a lot of the problems that I had with Batman v Superman. Andy, I'm sure you've seen some of the campaigning for Schumacher's cut of Batman Forever. With what you know about the deleted scenes, could the additional content make you like the film, or are your grievances just inherent to the film that were shot regardless of the scenes that were cut? So, Brendan, you want to address yours first?
I still think that Batman vs Superman has aged well in the last 5 years. Like, I know there's still people that don't like it, and that's cool, and there's still the odd debate about it, but I don't know. I find that people seem to look more favorably on it now than when it first came out. Mm-hmm. Whether it's been more time to sit with it, people now know, they've gotten over the expectation they had in their head and can accept what was given. The fact that, they've seen the Ultimate Edition, things like that. I don't know. That's just, it's my personal experience. I think that it's more well received than it was originally.
Yeah. I mean, I get the point. And I think that Zack Snyder's Justice League makes BVS even better in hindsight because it shows where they were going, right? Like it's not like BVS was standalone. It had something that came before Man of Steel. It has something that comes after Zack Snyder's Justice League. And when you see it in context with the overarching story, I think it's better. But for people who just did not like that movie, I don't necessarily think it changed minds. But I'm glad and I do think that Justice League was just a little more in line with what people wanted from this DC universe, and it's a shame that they didn't get it until now. So, and then as for the question about the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever, what I will say is that if they were to be able to reassemble closer to the original cut, I think it would be a better movie because one of my issues with the movie, but the problem is it's not the biggest issue with the movie, is one of my issues with the movie is like so much of the Bruce stuff doesn't match up in the final movie. None of it is cohesive. None of it makes sense. It changes in every scene. And so that just bugs me just again from a storytelling perspective where I'm just like, God, like you don't even know what you're saying in this movie. And that is because of how they re-edited it and changed it. So at least this subplot, especially about the Red Book, at least that would have a payoff that makes sense. Where in the movie, they keep the movie that we have, they keep acknowledging it, and then when it's paid off, there is no real payoff. The payoff is, and I realized my dad would never write in it again. It's like, Okay, sure. So at least we would get that, and I think that Bruce's story would, I think, just be a little more cohesive, so I think the movie would be better. But so much of what I don't like about the movie is still the movie they made. You know, it's the over-the-top performances, the bad jokes, it's that stuff, and that stuff's still going to be in there. So it's not like I'm going to do a 180 and love the movie, because that stuff is all still there, but at least I think it would be a movie that's a little more put together, so I would appreciate that about it.
Not to sort of to use the comparison to the Ultimate Edition of BVS, like I know people who didn't like BVS, and the Ultimate Edition, they still don't like it, but they admit and appreciate the fact that it does tell a more cohesive story.
Right. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because the stuff's still there that you don't like, so yeah, it makes sense.
All right. Next message is from Bobby Hernandez. It's interesting. It says, Return of the King. I was like, oh, are we getting a Lord of the Rings email? But what it says is, hey, Andy, I was wondering, since your time is almost up in China, what are you looking forward to the most when you get back on American soil? What's the first thing you're going to do? Are you going to pull a Tony Stark and go to Burger King? Thanks for everything you do. Safe travels back. Many happy returns. Thanks, Bobby. It's not a DC question, but it's a sweet one.
Can I have a stab at this?
Sure.
Taco Bell.
It's pretty likely. It's pretty likely.
I would have to side with Brendan, except I had it in my head that you would be like off the plane and be like telling Catherine you had to go get a Big Mac.
Well,
but yeah, now that he said Taco Bell, I think that's probably where you're going.
I can get a Big Mac here.
But is it like one you get here?
Yeah, and it tastes exactly the same. So I can get that.
Taco Bell it is.
Taco Bell I can get a version of here, but it is not the same. And so yeah, like for the quick, like as soon as I get there, Taco Bell, hell yeah, definitely. But aside from, I always thought the most unbelievable thing about Iron Man is if you go to a near-death experience, the first burger you want is not Burger King. There are 100 better options.
I understand there's a lot of people out there that aren't hip to the Burger King, but I'm here to tell you the Whopper is a great American institution, and I will not have bad mouthing of that sandwich.
No, I enjoy
Anything
it.
else you want to say about Burger King's fine? Whopper, that sandwich rules.
That's fair. That's fair. And I can get a Whopper here in China too. And it tastes the same. So I can get a Whopper, I can get a Big Mac.
That's so weird. You're clear on the other side of the planet, and you can get a Big Mac or a Whopper that tastes the same. I eat a McDonald's in Puerto Rico, and it doesn't taste a damn thing like McDonald's here. That's crazy to me.
Don't get me wrong. There are 100 other things on those menus that are nothing like what you can get in the States and do not taste the same.
I effectively ordered what looked like a quarter pounder on the menu. It wasn't called a quarter pounder. I don't know if it's because of the metric system or what, and I'm not getting into a whole Pulp Fiction thing about that. But Puerto Rico is a U.S. territory. They shouldn't be in metric. Anyway, yeah, it didn't taste anything like McDonald's here. Nothing.
That's sad. That's sad.
Like it.
So anyway, point is, yeah, the quick answer is Taco Bell. But what I'm really looking forward to is my favorite Mexican restaurant in Burbank. It's called Barrigan's. And it's awesome.
Well, that really sounds Mexican too.
Isn't that funny? It does not at all, but it is
Irish.
It's so good. It's like 50 years old. I hope it survived the pandemic. That's one thing I'm worried about is because I haven't heard. I hope it survived because it's my favorite Mexican restaurant on the planet. And as soon as I get back to California, we're going to Barrigan's. They have the best guacamole I've ever had. It's the best. So
with a name like that, they probably don't use tortilla chips in the nachos. They use potato skins.
No, it's amazing. But yes, I agree. Barrigan's is a very odd name for a Mexican restaurant. But here's another fun fact about Barrigan's, aside from it being my favorite Mexican restaurant. You can see it in Back to the Future. The first one, because when Marty comes out of Doc's garage on the skateboard and he comes out right by Burger King, right?
Yeah.
So there's a Burger King, and then behind the Burger King is a Toys R Us, and behind the Toys R Us is a place called Lancers, which is the worst family restaurant you've ever been to in your life. I've only eaten there once, and it's not good.
It's not worse than Perkins, I promise.
No, it is. It is.
Impossible.
I'm telling you. And though it's still there, though, God bless them, they're still there. The Toys R Us isn't anymore, but it was until a couple years ago. But on the right side of the street is Berrigan's. It's on that same strip where Marty McFly's Burger King is.
I'll watch for that next time I see that movie.
Yeah. So there you have it. And just yesterday, Catherine and I and a couple of our friends, we went to the Temple of Heaven, and then we went to what is called the Pearl Market, which is where you go barter for crappy souvenirs and things. But for lunch, there was a McDonald's, and for lunch we went to McDonald's because sometimes you just need a taste of home.
Yeah. That's how I feel every time I drive by a McDonald's.
All right, here we go. We're starting to get a little out of Justice League questions, so I guess people are starting to move on. This comes from Aaron. It says, "Hey lads. First of all, I love the show. I have a question about Titans, and more importantly, the Red Hood. I'm a big fan of Jason Todd, and I really love his arc in the comics, from the iconic Death in the Family to the Lost Days to Under the Red Hood, Three Jokers, and the current Urban Legends run. My question is this: do you think Titans will follow the same arc with Jason's death and return, or will they do their own thing? Keep up the good work, Aaron." Thanks, Aaron. So what do you think? We know Red Hood's going to be in Titans Season 3. How do you think they're going to do that? Are they just going to follow what the comics did, or are they going to do something different? What do you think, Jamie?
Titans certainly is not afraid to put their own flavor on any of this stuff, so I would say I would fully expect them to do their own thing with it. And I don't even know if we're going to necessarily need Jason to die. Purely speculation on my part. I've read no information whatsoever about Season 3 or anything that's coming, other than I know Red Hood is going to be in it and Barbara Gordon's going to be in it. That's literally the only that and the costumes. I guess Starfire's costume or something is going to finally come back around.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I don't know any of the plot
Blackfire
details
too.
or anything. Yeah. Nothing. I don't know any of the plot details or anything, but I wouldn't be surprised if, like, Batman got wind of Jason doing that shit to those cops or security guards, whatever they were, and firing him from being Robin.
Mm-hmm.
And he becomes Red Hood after that.
Yeah. Brendan?
Yeah, kind of actually co-sign what Jamie said. I can't really add to that. I'm just curious to see what they do.
Yeah. I mean, I think, Jamie, you said it perfectly, is I think it, just in the interest of time, like, in order to do what the comics did, he has to die by the Joker. They have to think he's dead for a while before he comes back as Red Hood. I just don't think they can do all that because it's all happening in real time, unless you have to do like a 3-year time jump or something. And I don't think they will. But I think instead what you'll see is what you said, is Batman will see that Jason is out of hand. They will have it out. Batman will say, you follow my rules or you don't, or you're not Robin anymore. And he goes, fine, I'm not Robin anymore. And he becomes Red Hood. Kind of a quicker way to get there than doing Death in the Family. All right, next message from Eddie Bolton that says, "Hey guys, I saw a rumor that Keanu Reeves is being touted as reprising his role of Constantine for Justice League Dark. I'm obviously taking this with a massive pinch of salt, but it got me thinking. If you could pick a Justice League of 5 members from actors who have previously portrayed the characters, who would you pick? For example, you could have Michael Keaton as Batman or Brandon Routh as Superman. You can try this with a Legion of Doom if you prefer, and I think that it's easier to choose from. P.S. I was listening to your previous episode and you brought up Dr. Fate. Just a correction that Pierce Brosnan is not British. He is a proud Irishman. Ireland has only has a select few we can call our own, so please don't take them away from us. Hope you guys are doing well, Eddie. Thanks, Eddie. Maybe I didn't realize that. Maybe I didn't know he was Irish.
I did, but I mean, shame on me for this, but I kind of lump UK altogether as British, so if I'm doing that wrong, then my bad. I'll try and do better about that going forward.
Oh, well, thanks, Eddie. Anyway, so you can pick 5 members of the Justice League from previous actors who have played the roles. Brendan, what do you think?
It's hard because, like, I love the cast we currently have. I'm gonna go Brendan Routh as Superman, just because. Like, I think I just want to see him play the role again. You know, I mean, I know he got to do it again on Legend, with Crisis and everything, but like proper, in his prime Superman. I'd love to see him have another go at that. Batman, I know you're going to say Keaton, Andy, so I'll say Bale. So Bale's Batman, Brendan Routh Superman, and you kind of have to go Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern.
You don't have to.
Well, there's been no other live action Green Lantern.
That's not true. That's not true. There has been other live action Green Lantern.
Stephen Amell's Green Arrow. And I'm struggling to think of a fifth now. Come back to me. Maybe you guys will give me inspiration for the fifth.
Okay. Jamie?
I'm just going to have fun with this. This wouldn't even be my preference, but I'm going to have fun with it. Batman, Adam West. Superman, Christopher Reeve. Wonder Woman, Linda Carter. Green Lantern, the one from the DC Celebrity Roast thing that we did the review on.
Jesus.
I told you, is that not a live action Green Lantern? Am I wrong?
Nope, you're
I've
right.
never seen it, but yeah.
Shame on you. Green Arrow, Justin Hartley. That's 5, right? Yeah, there. That's my 5.
I think so. I mean, yeah, it's a tougher question than I would expect. But I guess like if you're taking from different time periods, then you can kind of mix and match. Like have you seen the Alex Ross artwork where it's Christopher Reeve Superman, Michael Keaton Batman, Linda Carter Wonder Woman, and John Wesley Shipp's Flash? Like,
yes, I have.
Yeah, like that, yes, I wish that could have happened in some way. I mean, the timing is still a little off because of when Linda Carter and Christopher Reeve were in their roles, but like that's sort of a dream with that old school Justice League. And the current Justice League, yeah, like you said, Brendan, I'm pretty happy with it, so I don't even feel the need to mix it up too much.
By the way, my fifth would be Linda Carter.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I guess if we're going with like, I don't know, if we're going with one from different time periods, I don't know. Sure, like,
just your Alex Ross thing's almost perfect.
Yeah, I mean that's what I would want it to be. Throw in a Robin for good measure, or an Aquaman. Who would have been a good Aquaman in the late '80s, early '90s? Can't think of anyone offhand, but there'd be someone. Throw in an Aquaman in there, and that's what I would do. I will also say I'm not buying the Keanu Reeves returning as Constantine. That doesn't seem very likely.
Didn't they say they wanted a black actor?
I thought they did, but
yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah, I didn't even see that rumor, so I feel like it didn't necessarily go anywhere. Okay. Next message is from Carrie Vanderberg. It says, hey guys, Zack Snyder's Justice League is here. It's amazing. It's everything I wanted, and a proper sequel to BVS. So I was listening to your commentary on BVS, and I wanted to point out something about Clark as a reporter. I feel like too many people have forgotten about the original description of Clark, that he's mild-mannered. He was not always clumsy or bumbling. He was just a regular guy who stays in the background. This was really captured well in in Superman the Animated Series. That characterization is very different from the Christopher Reeve Clark Kent, but it seems to me like no one ever brings that up. In Superman the Animated Series, Clark is tall, confident, broad-shouldered, handsome, but he doesn't go out of his way to draw attention to himself. It drives me nuts that people think that Clark has to be clumsy and goofy. Donner did something new with Clark, and it worked, but that wasn't always canon, and I wish that it was talked about more. Anyways, I wanted to bring that up. What do you guys think about Clark Kent, how he gets depicted, and whether or not there should be more nuance to reporter Clark? Cheers, fellas. Carrie. Thanks, Carrie. What do you think about mild-mannered Clark Kent as opposed to the clumsy, nerdy one that we got in the Donner films? Brendan?
Look, he's not wrong. It's something that it doesn't bug me too much because like the Superman that I grew up with was Dean Cain, and he was always, in or out of the costume, he was kind of always the same character. I mean, he was a little bit shy and stuff in the earlier episodes, but as that series went on, like he and Lois were just like it was Clark and Lois, whether he was in the cape or not. To me. So, and yeah, it's the same with Superman the animated series. Like I do like it when they do make him a little bit sort of not clumsy, but the way Tyler Hoechlin played Clark in his first episode, or like the 2-episode appearance he did in Supergirl, when he was addressing Cat Grant and stuff like that, sort of like the oh gosh, oh shucks, it was nice to see that again. But to me, it doesn't always have to be that. Like, yeah, Superman just seems to still be defined so much by Chris Reeve, which says a lot for those movies and what he did. But yeah, it's not. It doesn't always have to be that way.
Jamie?
I think there should probably be a middle ground with it somewhere. I think at times the bumbling, clumsy whoops act is a little overplayed. But at the same time, if you just make him background noise as Clark, where's his personality at that point? He would only get to show his personality as Clark if he went home to see his parents in Kansas or something like that. If he's at his job and, hanging out with Jimmy Olsen, somebody who wouldn't know his secret identity, and he has to put up the other persona, if you will. He needs to be able to exhibit a personality of sorts without getting too carried away with it. So I think there's got to be a happy ground somewhere in the middle with that somewhere.
Yeah.
Which I think is kind of what Hoechlin did in that first couple of episodes of Supergirl, which I think why I liked it so much. He wasn't just hiding in the background, but he was still not, like I said, not clumsy, but just kind of like that real sort of country farm boy when he spoke.
Yeah. Yeah, he was a much more real version of Nerdy Clark, without going too broad with it. It was sort of a nice sort of middle ground between the just mild-mannered only and the bumbling version. He was sort of in between, which I think was the right call. I think the point is very valid here in that, yeah, like, it is interesting how that Christopher Reeve portrayal still casts such a long shadow over what people expect of Superman. And I think that was one of the things that people were really fighting about with Man of Steel, is that everyone went, no, that's not how it goes. And it's like, well, why? You're just thinking of what was done in the Reeve films. Because there were versions where, I mean, even if you go back to like the George Reeves Superman, his Clark Kent wasn't bumbling or clumsy. It was just more about blending and not calling attention to yourself than it was about being a completely different person, having a different personality. I think that was an interesting choice, and I think a really great choice that Donner and Reeves Donner and Reeve made. But that doesn't mean that's the only way to play it. So yeah, like I have seen both, and I think that works. And yeah, I think we mentioned it, is that was the route that Cavill and Snyder went with, especially in BVS, is that Clark Kent, he's not putting on a different persona, but he is just more about blending in the background. I don't think that either is right or wrong, but there are certainly different ways they can do it. I remember having a fight when Man of Steel came out because of the way Jonathan Kent died. Is they're like, that's not how Jonathan Kent dies. He dies of a heart attack. And I was like, no, sometimes Jonathan Kent doesn't die at all. It just depends. But that's how ingrained, the Reeve films are. Is that people go, no, that's how Superman goes. It's like, well, not really, not always.
I get the reason for Jonathan dying, like, to show that with all Superman's power, he still can't. There's some things he just can't do. But man, I love the stories when Jonathan's still alive.
Yeah, me too.
I really do.
I agree. But yeah, I mean, then that's just it. Each version is different. And, the point I made back then, but I'll make it again because I'm amongst friends, is in Superman the movie, Jonathan Kent dies of a heart attack because directly informs the story and what happens with Superman later on when he can't save Lois. He learns that he can't save his dad. With all his powers, he can't save his dad. And then when Lois dies, he that informs that of like, well, maybe I can. And in Man of Steel, the way Jonathan dies directly informs what Clark's about to go through. He dies because he's not going to reveal himself to the world yet because it's not time. He trusted his father so much, he's going to let him die. And that informs the arc and the story of that film. So the way Jonathan dies in each film informs the story they're trying to tell with that film. It doesn't mean that Jonathan Kent can only die one way, or it doesn't mean Jonathan Kent has to die at all. All right. We got one last email, guys. Can you believe it?
Wow.
Well, I will say this, and I said it on the last one, I'll say it again, is I didn't read all of them. Some of them are ones that we've already answered, we've already addressed. As I've gone through, I go, oh, we just talked about that. So, we can't read them all because we'll be here all day. So if we didn't read yours, it's not that we don't appreciate you writing in. We're sorry, but yeah, sometimes they're redundant or things we've discussed or they're out of date, and for those we just have to kind of move ahead without reading those. So this one is also from Julian, but it's a different question. It says, hey, I was wondering if you ever read the Batman Predator crossover comics, and would you ever be down to do an episode dedicated to those? I'm a big Batman fan, and I'm an even bigger Predator fan. I've never read those comics, but I plan to in the future, and I'm just starting to get more into comic reading. Thanks for all the work you put into the show. It's greatly appreciated. Sincerely, Julian. That's not Julian Chan. That's Julian, I think, Espinoza. So I own the Batman Predator comics from the 90s. I assume those are the ones you're talking about, Julian. So yeah, I own those. I have read them. It's been a long time, but I'm sure, Brendan, you haven't read them.
No.
Jamie?
I had them. I read them. I remember nothing about them because it's been 30 years or more since I've read them. Plus, those were victims of my great basement flood in the old house.
No.
So, yeah. When I did my Orlando trip in, what was that, October of 19 now?
Sure.
Is that when that was?
Oh, my God. Yeah, it would have been. Mm-hmm.
For Horror Nights. And on the plane, I downloaded on DC Universe the Superman and Batman versus Alien and Predator because I thought, how can you screw this up? And they found a way. That was not a good story, and I don't recommend that one at all. But I would like to track down those Batman Predator comics.
Yeah. I would have to dig mine out because, they're in storage. But I know I've got them. And honestly, I don't remember much about the stories, but I distinctly remember the covers. And because Batman is wearing essentially an armor suit, much like he did in BVS and in The Dark Knight Returns, it's a very similar armor suit. That's really cool. So I'm not saying we won't do an episode about it. It's just a matter of making sure that those comics are readily available for at least the three of us, and then for people back at home too, because otherwise we'll be doing an episode for just us. So it's a good idea, though. I'm into it. All right, that's it for the Wayne Manor Mailbox, guys. Can you believe it?
Whew.
Did it.
Yay!
That sense of accomplishment.
Oh, it's empty. It feels like doing laundry, and then it's just going to fill right back up again. It's only cleared out for a day, and then in it comes again. But that's okay. But I'm glad we got to do that. Thank you, guys. And again, thank you to everybody who wrote in. We love hearing from you. We love hearing your thoughts, your questions. Some of them are always tricky, and we do our best on the spot. But thank you for that. We appreciate it. If you've got a message for the Wayne Manor Mailbox in the future, you can send that to Holy BatCast at rf4rm.com. But that'll do it for this episode. Gentlemen, thank you both. It was a pleasure. Jamie, thank you for joining us. Always good to have you back.
Good times, man.
Thanks for escaping the teenage slumber party to join us today.
Yeah, but I have to walk right through the middle of it to go to bed now, so.
Well, God be with you. Brendan, thank you as well.
My pleasure, as always.
And keep us posted. I'm sure you'll keep it a secret on how things are going there, but at least tell us.
Look, you'll know. You'll know when the times, when things happen, you'll know. Trust me.
Great. Well, Brendan, you can tell people where to follow you because Jamie doesn't want people following him. He's a little paranoid.
You can follow me on Twitter at Loey007.
Awesome. All right. Yeah, give Brendan a follow, and Jamie, just check in with Jamie as you listen to this show, and hopefully we get him on more often than we don't. But that'll do it for this episode. Again, thank you guys for contributing. The good thing about episodes like this is it's on you guys. You give us the content, and we just get to respond to it. So thank you for allowing us to have an episode that does not require any real homework. We appreciate it. Thanks for downloading the show. Please do subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts, and please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. And as Michael Keaton's Batman says, I want you to tell all your friends about me. Visit holybatcast.com and find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, got to give a shout out to Gaurav Venkateswar, who does our theme music. He is awesome. His work is at gvtunes.com. But that'll do it. On behalf of Jamie and Brendan, I've been Andy. This has been Holy BatCast. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for.
How will you retrieve your great prize?
Anti-life is found, Assad, and we will stop at nothing to possess it. Ready the